Hello and welcome to another episode of Josh Wants to Talk About Movies. I'm very unkempt. I think I need to trim this beard or just shave it because it's not looking good for me. So today's political climate is tense, I'm not gonna lie. It seems more often I'm seeing stories about police brutality in the news and peaceful protests that are ending violently as the nation goes through another round of discussion about the treatment of the African American community by the police. And the biggest questions that are coming up are, what can we do to change the system and help these communities? A lot of people are bringing up the idea of donating to certain charities. Other groups of people are bringing up signing petitions. But the main thing that people want is for others to be educated on these issues. And a lot of streaming services like Netflix are highlighting a lot of their content that's based around African American rights and civil liberties. And even acclaimed and award-winning director Spike Lee just debuted one of his films, or as he calls it in the widest way I can say it, a joint, to the streaming platform called Defy Bloods. Now, judging by the fact that You Have Eyes, I'm probably not the best reviewer to give my opinion on this film based off the issues that it presents. So in the description below, I'll put in some links, not only just to charities and petitions that you could be signing at the moment, but also to different Black creators and reviewers that talked about this film, just so you can get a different sense of perspective when learning about the film. So Defy Bloods is directed by Spike Lee and it stars Chadwick Boseman, Delroy Lindo, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Jonathan Majors, Norm Lewis, and Clark Peters, as it follows four former Vietnam War veterans as they return back to Vietnam several years later to find one of their fallen soldiers and the gold that he was buried with. So to get started with some of the positives about the movie, probably the best aspect of the film is the acting. Everyone does a great performance. Chadwick Boseman is very compelling with the very limited screen time that he has. But hands down, the best performance out of the movie went to Delroy Lindo. Please, for the love of God, give this man an Oscar. He is terrifying me. Delroy plays Paul, one of the former soldiers that is still going through PTSD and throughout his entire life has never really addressed it and never really confronted it. And so that creates a lot of tension with him and the rest of the group as he tries to fight for essentially his sanity. Also, Jean Reno was in this movie. I haven't seen that guy in like 10 years. What's he been up to? The dude was freaking Leon. Besides the acting, another thing I really enjoyed about the film was its presentation. Spike Lee really played a lot with the aspect ratios. When we start off, it's in ultra wide, but then when we get into the flashbacks, it goes to this 4:3 boxy look. And then when we actually get into the jungle, it goes to like 16:9. I thought it was a great way to be a signifier for the time period that they're in. And I thought it was just a fun and creative way to be a storytelling device. The story honestly kind of surprised me. When I saw the trailer, I thought it was gonna be essentially four guys going into the forest and rediscovering themselves in their past. Kind of like The Way. Did anyone ever watch The Way? The Martin Sheen movie from way back when? That's kind of what I thought this was gonna be. It was not. Whereas The Way was a lot about the journey and it was kind of a very relaxed movie, this had a lot, and I mean a lot of stressful moments. Another interesting thing about the story is that it also serves as an educational tool. Spike Lee is known for using found footage and pictures within his films, and this one is no exception. This story not only just explores the story of these four soldiers going back into the forest, but also is an over-encompassing story about just Black soldiers in Vietnam. In a recent interview I saw with him on The Daily Show, Spike Lee was talking about a lot about how African Americans, since the beginning of American history, have fought for America even though they still weren't really considered citizens. They fought for a country that didn't care about them.
That the first person to die for the United States of America in the war, the American Revolutionary War, was a Black man. 1770, there's a thing called the Boston Massacre, and a Black man died, Crispus Attucks. So from the very beginning, we've been fighting for this country.
And that's an interesting concept that I don't feel gets talked about a lot. You put your body on the line for people that basically don't see you as equals, and you gotta ask yourself, what's the point of fighting? This film not only explores in great detail about specific soldiers and events that happened during this time period, but also explores the feelings that they're going through, mainly a lot of anger. I think the surprising thing about Spike Lee is that anytime he's able to debut a film, it always encapsulates the current feelings about the political climate. Last time Spike Lee debuted a film was back in 2018 with BlacKkKlansman, and that came out around the same time as the Charlottesville riots. And he purposely actually added a lot of the footage from the Charlottesville riots to the end of that film as a way to signify that African Americans in America are still fighting the same battles today as they did back in the 70s, the 60s, and even farther back. So with The Five Bloods coming out today, around the same time as the Black Lives Matter protests, I feel like the film encapsulates a lot of the anger that African Americans are facing today, and saying that this anger is no different from the way African Americans, again, were feeling back in the 70s and the 60s. Not only does this film serve as a good story surrounding these 4 African American soldiers, but it also serves as a useful educational tool. I have a couple gripes with this film. One is that we have this whole entire subplot where the son of Paul joins their group and encounters a bomb defusing team in Vietnam. That team sticks with the rest of the group throughout the rest of the story, and I felt like that kind of held back from a lot of the character development of the other soldiers within the group. I felt like 2 of the soldiers, one played by Norm Lewis, the other played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr., because we added this bomb defusal squad, it really kind of bloated the film and kind of hindered their characters a bit. I kind of wish I saw them interact more with the group, but that's just my gripes. In the end, I really enjoyed The Five Bloods, and I really encourage anyone to watch it, not just for the story, but just to educate themselves more on American history. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Black Lives Matter.